It is time.
All right, let's do one more. So, have you guys ever heard of Snarky Puppy before?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Great. So, Katie, tell me how you first heard of them.
Snarky Puppy, I heard the name going around. We actually had Mark Lettieri on the Weird Music podcast, though.
Who's that?
So, Taurus, right? Yes. He played the Summit Music Hall. So it was kind of to promote that show and also to promote Snarky Puppy in general.
So was he with a band or was it just him and his guitar?
It was him. It was the Mark Lettieri group.
Okay.
It was him and I think 3 other musicians.
Cool. What about you, Cam? Have you ever seen Snarky Puppy before?
Ever seen them? Watched them on YouTube a lot. Somebody told me a story about how they began. Their band leader maxed out the story could be completely false. I'm just relaying something someone else
No,
said.
this is totally true. This is Cam saying very true things.
I hope it's true. But anyways, Snarky Puppy, they're like Grammy award-winning band. I think their band leader founded the band by maxing out a bunch of credit cards and getting just like tons of debt and just believed in himself and made it happen with all that, extra capital that he just maxed out on all these credit cards. And he ended up having an actual successful band from it that I guess he paid that off. I don't know. I'd imagine he did. But that's like epic gamble on yourself.
It's all about believing in yourself.
I heard that story before I heard about them. Like I hadn't heard of their music before I heard that story. So that was really cool context for me to get into them.
Very cool. What about you, Chris? Did you see that show at the Summit?
Yeah. I booked that show at the Summit, or Rob and I booked that show at the Summit, and I mixed that show at the Summit. Mark was fantastic. I'll say this about Snarky Puppy. I don't recall the first time I heard Snarky Puppy. It was probably on YouTube, but I do recall one time, this had to have been 6-7 years ago at least, when Snarky Puppy was still playing clubs. They were not, I'm not sure if they had won a Grammy yet or not, but I remember Humphreys McGee was in town the same night, and I was a humongous Humphreys fan at the time, and I skipped Humphreys McGee to go see Snarky Puppy. And I remember thinking that I had made the right choice that day. I was so satisfied with the choice I had made, and I was just blown away by the performance, especially the guitar work, because I'm a guitarist. And but the overall musicianship is just off the charts. Second thing that sticks out to me about Snarky Puppy was I saw them on Jam Cruise one time, and they were playing their big hit Shufukan. And we were on the pool deck, out on the ocean, and this giant storm is coming in, and the wind is blowing, and there's lightning out in the distance, and it's just like wah 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 wah, and it was just like Mother Nature was playing.
Bringing the thunder.
It was incredible. It was like just a hair-raising experience. It was just, the music was so big, and everything was just playing into it. And it was one of the greatest musical experiences of my life. So I'm a humongous Snarky Puppy fan. Big
Hell
fan.
yeah.
Also just saw them open up for Steely Dan. So, I mean, if you're opening for Steely Dan, you're doing something right. That's very cool.
Great. This is off of their album, Empire Central. This song was released on July 29th.
Right.
This is Snarky Puppy with their song, Bet. Ooh, they got like a Prague. They're doing a Prague thing right now. Prague Humphreys thing. They have like 19 people in the studio right now.
At least. It's so sophisticated.
It is.
It's like
Very
exquisite.
Yeah. stage is so clean, and Michael Lind is such a good orchestrator of this music.
This is like the smoothest jazz ever.
Texas.
And the mix is really good. I can hear everything so clearly.
I definitely picked up a couple tricks from Snarky Puppy's live sound engineer on the drum mix. It's good.
Hell yeah, he's wailing.
It's hard enough to orchestrate a horn section, but plus a whole woodwind section is just incredible.
Hell yeah. I want this to be the background music to my life.
The crazy thing is you're talking about the sound engineer, right? I've been constantly just wondering, like, how long does it take to sound check this before they go on to play? Like, in this room with all the headphone mixes, how long does it take?
Yeah, and do you think that when they're playing a music festival, like right before they go on, they're like, yeah, you got 10 minutes to set up and you're already 20 minutes behind.
Yeah.
So
No, you can't have any reverb.
I know all about that.
Yeah.
I did Ghost Note, and gosh, it wasn't my finest hour. We were pretty late. I had to patch that whole stage, and the other guys on my crew happened to be getting into it that night. They were dipping their fingers into this and that. I'll just say that. So I had to do this whole Ghost Note changeover, which is Snarky Puppy thing. I had to do it alone, and I also hit my head on the stage really hard, and I was like bleeding. So yeah, that was. I've been in that scenario, and that was one of the hardest changeovers I've ever done. Was a Ghost Note changeover.
I hate when you're like in the thick of it, and then you hurt yourself like that. And one thing that I always think about when I watch Snarky Puppy is how. Because all of them, especially right now, they're all like national award-winning musicians, and they all have their own careers, right? So how do they all get together and sit and like write a song, right? And then not only that, but when they're all practicing, let's say like one of the members is like fucking up all over the place, right? Who's the one that calls them out? You know, who's like the one that's like, you're not doing a good job. You need to do a better job, right? Because if you have so many of them, you have so many personalities, so many egos that, especially now that they're so big and famous, like. I just don't know like how they're able just getting like 3 or 4 people in a band to agree to the same thing and to all perform competently and to all show up to practice and to all be in the same direction is like impossible. So how are they able to get like 20 people to do this song, to do it the right way? And, you know, how is it written? And it's just so endlessly fascinating to me how these big ensemble groups realistically make it work on like a day-to-day basis, you know? What are you thinking about when you see this, Cam?
One thing I'm just been like really into the videos. I think this video is so cool.
Me too.
And it's I feel like when I think about the music I like music that I can't really anticipate exactly what they're about to do. I think that's a big element with Snarky Puppy. Like they're always like, I'm anticipating it's gonna be this, and then they go to the side a little bit.
I felt that way with the saxophone player because when he started playing, I was like, oh, it's a sax solo, and then he started doing like other things. I'm like, oh, he's like crushing it, you know. So I definitely get that, Cam. That was great input. What did you think, Katie?
I am just blown away that there's so much going on, but they make it sound so beautiful. And I feel like Snarky Puppy is one of the bands you need to like see to believe. Like this kind of video where they're in the studio and you're showing that there's like 25 people there, like crammed into the studio.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then you're also thinking about what you were just saying, like they're all humans that have like feelings and reactions to stuff, like
Right.
beyond the music of like blending all of your unique sounds and making it sound good together. Like you're also working together as humans. It's just like so much going on, and it's so impressive that they can do it with so many people.
Precisely, because the only way an orchestra can do it is like everyone, like you have someone write the sheet music and everyone just like follows the sheet music. And I'm wondering if that's kind of the same thing here, where you have a core group of like 2 or 3 that write the song,
that.
and then they just give it to the other people in the ensemble, and they're just like play that.
Yeah, learn
you know?
this.
And maybe give them a little improv. Like here's your little solo diddly. Do whatever you want during that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's probably how it has to happen. I mean, I just with that many people.
Because we had a member of Funk U in the band,
Yeah.
and they're like 7, 8 people, I think. They're a big band, and I was asking their bass player, Mark Earl Dykes, how do they do it? And he said it's just like that, where 3 to 4 core people. Really, the band is like a little nucleus, and then all the outliers, it's like they just show up and practice and get paid and then leave, right? So, and I think that's better
I've seen
because...
Funk U.
Right, and I feel like the more
I've-
hands in the cookie jar, it's like everybody wants a piece, But if you only let a few people make the decisions, it kind of makes it better for everybody, right? What were you saying, Chris?
How about Funk You?
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I saw them write a song at my studio. They stayed there for a couple of days and rented it out to rehearse while they were on the road, and they crashed there. And it was cool. It was just a lot of reps. The way that they did it, they had an idea. It was a riff. It was a sweet riff, and then there was like an A part and a B part, and it was just a ton of repetitions. And they played it, and they found the groove. They found the way each one of them liked to play it, and it just got tighter and tighter and tighter. I wish I remembered the name of that song, and I hope they come back to record it with me. That would be great.
Then they probably just figured out
yeah.
how we're going to transition from A into B, and then okay, we made that, so we got the 2 grooves down. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, the decision.
Yeah, they were like tightening up, the drum fills and the lead parts. Like whoever's like whatever leading notes are going to run into the next thing. Who's going to play it? It was cool, but it seemed to be like a good mix of like what they were feeling and what they were discussing and what ideas they had and what they automatically did. So it was cool to watch. It was like a really organic process, and with that many people, you got to tip the hat. To play it nice. That's a hard thing to do. I think in a lot of cases, though, like the project I was playing with, for example, we were doing all these improv jams over COVID times, and we had like 100 hours or so of recorded material. And then our Sam Muccio, who is the keyboard player, he has a degree in music composition. He's a very accomplished composer. He's very, very talented. And he went back and he charted everything on his own and wrote it all out and orchestrated it for different parts like marimba and 2 horn parts and like 3 different keyboard parts. And he wrote my guitar part that I had already played, but he like
That's epic.
It was epic. And he called all the shots. He literally wrote it all down on paper, gave it to these musicians and said, "This is the song. Here it is." I imagine this must be a similar process. A la Michael League, if I'm not mistaken. Again, this could be wrong, but I think he writes the music, and I would imagine that these people being professional musicians, accomplished musicians, would just read the charts and play the song as it was intended, which is almost even more impressive. That it's all centralized; it's just coming from one man's mind to orchestrate, and that's what I'm saying. Why it's so impressive that Michael League can orchestrate this music. It's a whole nother type of talent, composition, and orchestration. It's a very rare and amazing talent. Very cool. Hans Zimmer is like the man with this.
Right, and like Danny Elfman, right? So he does like that too, where he's having, he has Oingo Boingo, but he's doing movie scores and stuff like that. And, I think that composers definitely have a good place in even like improv. I think it's interesting how he's going back and choreographing what you guys did there. And I just think like really the decision-making process has to be down to a science when you have this many personalities at play. And even like the decision to do it in a studio and, who's going to get on camera when, it just must be like, you have to like let your egos really go, and it's just, I love it. Let's keep going. Oh my God, how many people? They have 2 of everything except bass guitar. Ooh.
Sean Martin. Nate Worth.
Unexpected. Just like you said, Cam.
I love how they bring in the audience for these recordings too.
Yeah, I've seen other videos like that by them. They look like they're having so much fun because all their hard work's paying off.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Ooh, I like this. That one guy had a keyboard where he had like a whammy bar. Did you see that? There was like this big whammy bar that he put on the keyboard to get, I guess like that effect. Man, that was dope.
That's cool. That album comes out on October 14th.
Nice.
Brand new
I
stuff.
didn't realize that was so new.
Some
Yeah,
new.
brand new. That would be amazing to be sitting in that audience.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I would be scared I would sneeze and they'd have to like start it all over because they caught it in like one of the mics.
Seat 24, you're out.
Yeah, you're out. I'm like,
I actually love Easter eggs like that in recordings. Like, for example, "Give Me Shelter," the Rolling Stones song, where the woman is singing towards the end. It's like rape, murder. It's just a shot away. And then she goes into this high part, and her voice cracks when she says murder. It's just like cracks really hard, and you can hear everybody in the background go like, "Woo!" But you have to listen really closely. I love stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Well, that's what keeps things from sounding so sterile, right? Is those artifacts. Like, for example, a lot of bands, they stopped recording to a click now because when you record to a click, it's like you get this like really, really mechanical thing. And when you listen to old bands, right, they're like, speeding up and slowing down. And it's, again, like letting more of like the organic thing come through. And I feel like Snarky Puppy did a really good job of taking like a whole thing of bands and this really complicated song structures and, moods and different ups and downs and making it into like an organic sounding thing instead of like this like sterile, like dry thing.
Agree. I'm looking forward to the rest of this album too.
Hi, this is Mike with Galaxy Jams Reacts. We hope that you enjoyed that React video. Be sure to check out the links below of when we're going to be live streaming our next show and also how to watch full episodes. Please hit that subscribe button. Every single one helps.